Hello there and welcome back to another edition of Silly Car Showdown. Today we are taking a look at the Lola T70 Mark IIIB. This car was requested by, and I apologise if I get this one, Jemima Austin Timmerman. I believe that's how you say your name. If it isn't, I apologise greatly. Anyways, yeah, the Lola, another classic race car. We have actually had one of these go around before, the GT40 Mark I. Which was sort of our very first unbeatable car until it was beaten. I don't think this will become one of the unbeatables, but we'll have to see. I don't really think much of the Lola, gotta be honest. This sort of era of cars and race cars really doesn't interest me. The only one I really like is the Daytona, so sorry. Anyways, in terms of engine swaps, we have a V8 or V10. Stock engine's 460 horsepower. I'm curious how much power we can make under that stock engine. 641. Okay, we will swap it out then for a more modern engine. And I'm thinking the V10, because we used the V8 last time. We will go for a twin-turbo V10, because sure. Right, the race tyres certainly had a lot of PI. Now, I'm not sure what to expect from rear. I like those 395s on the rear. Yes, please. I will certainly take those. Now, one issue with this being a race car, of course, is the fact that there's not going to be much in the way of upgradable parts. Bollocks, I was kind of hoping that would be race suspension. So we're sticking on race brakes, race suspension, and so on and so forth. Or sticking on the stock suspension, stock brakes. Which is a little bit on the terrifying side, and also the fact that PI is not climbing at all is also on the terrifying side, but there you go. Yeah, I mean, 230 horsepower and it's jumped up 1 PI is not a great sign of things to come, but you never know, maybe it'll be surprising. Anyways, 2.3 seconds to 60, that is impressive. 200 miles an hour, might have to take a look at that gearbox. Actually, 200 is good enough. 1,212 horsepower, 831 foot-pound torque, 1,830 pounds of weight. That is excessively light. Which, I mean, it's not massively surprising because, I mean, this is a race car after all, but it doesn't fill me full of confidence to drive this thing. Certainly slightly more scared of the Lola now, but those rear tyres give me some hope. Maybe it'll be a bit of a mismatch, I'm not sure. Anyways, there's only one way to find out. Let's go to Edinburgh. Alrighty, here we are in Edinburgh at our course, ready to set 5 laps with our Lola T70. Our current leader is the Ferrari Huracan V12 GT, which at a time of 1:55.743. The Lola unlikely to beat that. In terms of times, this can aim for 1:46.037 was the time set by the GT40 EcoBoost, and I feel like that would be a relatively fair time for this to aim for. Really, it's just a case of if it's going to be controllable / good, considering again it's sort of running the suspension it comes with, the brakes it comes with, because that's all racing, and so that's all tuned by the car previously. Hitting those railings really affected it. Can't say I'm massively surprised considering this thing does only weigh 1,800 pounds. A very light car indeed. I'm wondering if this comes with adjustable aero standard. I don't know if I saw a slot for, maybe I'm being stupid. Maybe I didn't see the slot for aero, but I could have sworn it wasn't there. But you never know. First impressions, kind of feels like a car of two halves, to be perfectly honest. The front half of it seems very sketchy, the rear part seems very nice and controlled. Kind of feels a little bit like that, what did I drive first today? The Nova. Except the opposite way around. The Nova felt like it had a very good front end and sort of a loose rear end. This feels like the complete opposite. Which I've got to be honest, as much as I do like understeer, I kind of prefer the front end of my car to be a little bit taut. Yeah, I can handle a little bit, but not much. 146.012. Okay, never mind. Fuck the GT40 idea. This will just do whatever it wants, apparently. To be fair, Old race cars in Forza traditionally are quite quick, so there is a good chance this will also be quick. It might be more straight line speed because straight line wise it seems very good. Everything else is a little bit iffy at best. Yeah, it's not got the best composure, there's no doubting that. It's not terrible though. The suspension isn't quite as hopelessly soft as I was expecting. Straight line speed is excellent, 170 miles an hour down there, because we didn't stop. But you know, I think I can do 165 comfortably and get it stopped. Straight line speed seems incredible, if nothing else. So straight line speed is incredible, but everything else is sort of iffy. Yeah, you know, the rear end's not the best. Front end, I'm starting to get a little bit more used to it now, but it still doesn't feel great. Still likes to wiggle around a bit. And the problem is, when you haven't got a nice front end of the car, the rear end often is a victim, purely because you need to sort of change direction, and the more you change direction, the more the rear end will want to come round. It sort of definitely feels like it's having issues at the understeer curves of death. 144.800 isn't a bad time though. Hitting that though is not a good idea. Just realised, does this car lack any wing mirrors? I think it might. It does have one wiper blade though, which is incredibly useful, I'm sure. Yeah, it does have a little bit of issue. I wonder what it would have been like with the stock engine upgrade down. I mean, 600 horsepower isn't really enough, if you ask me. So, or especially in a car like this. Still would have been curious to see what it would have done, but maybe that's a story for another day. Not for a while, though. Again, as I mentioned, I'm not a massive Lola person. I remember when this car came into Forza and everyone was like, oh my god, it's the Lola! And I was like, okay. I've never heard of it before and I don't really care. I mean, it's alright, you know. I wasn't angry about it or anything, I was just sort of like, I don't get why people... I don't really get why people get excited about cars like these. I get it, you know, historically I'm sure they're important, you know, your GT40s and stuff like that, but they don't really do anything for me. And driving them just sort of... I mean, half of them just drive kind of like softish 60s cars. You know, they're not spectacular handling by any stretch of the imagination these days. The only one that I can really think holds up is something like a 33 Stradale, which is an incredible car, but it's still hardly what I'd call modern or sophisticated in any way, shape or form. Oop, there we go. Yeah, it really does want to spin a lot of its power through the rear wheels, which is not... It's not grandioso, it has to be said. But, hey ho. I still like how you can see the, I guess they're like the cylinder heads exhaust manifold thing on top of the... And I apologise, I'm sure I'm irritating people. The intake, I think. Yeah, you can see all that sort of on top and it's still clearly 8 cylinders. To be fair though, I will say, if I have to give Horizon 4 credit for something bad, I guess, they really do not care about showing off, like, hey, yeah, you swapped the engine and all, but guess what, the model hasn't changed. Like, they'll open the bonnets and stuff. Previous Forza games, you know, were like, oh, now that you've upgraded the car, we keep the bonnet closed so you can't see the fact that your upgrades don't have much effect on it, and in this game, it's just like, we're tired of trying to cover that shit up, just like, here you go. It is what it is. I will say, it is a very quick car in a straight line, as I said. The gearbox takes a while to engage, it has to be said. It's not a smooth action. Changing gear in this car, it's quite an effort, but it does change relatively okay. I mean, it resets the revs, that's the important part, and all the rest of it. Yeah, gearbox is a little bit short. I'd be curious to see what it'd be like with slightly longer ratios. Third gear, you know, the ratios are pretty much perfect for my sort of driving. But, you know, obviously I don't drive 1200 horsepower hypercars much outside of this series. That's probably cocked up this lap time a bit. It really is not a particularly great handling car. It's sort of a little bit random, little bit sketchy. Ooh, a weird bit of lag there, I think that was. Yeah, I mean, it sort of gets stopped-ish. The wall helps. It has to be said. The wall helps quite a bit. Yeah, I mean, down this section is when you really get to feel that straight line speed. It just sort of surges towards 180. With an unrestricted gearbox, I'm sure this can reach the dizzying heights of like 270 quite easily. It is quite a, what's the word I'm looking for? Aerodynamic shape. The Lola, so that probably benefits it quite nicely. Spinning a little bit more of the potential power through the rear wheels, which is always lovely to do. There we go. Oh, ooh, that was very nice through there. Car got like just a good amount of grip through there, but unfortunately that first bit cocking up probably didn't help that time. But nevertheless, 143.038, not bad. The Lola's fine. The straight line speed is excellent. Don't get me wrong. Everything around it is just sort of, it's not a consistent car. It has to be said. It's not one of my favourites I've driven. It has to be said, but it is certainly one of the quickest. In fact, with the 143.038, it is the 8th quickest car we've had. It goes in between the equally quite mental Porsche 959 Hybrid Rally Raid. It's very slightly quicker than the Alfa Romeo Stelvio, 0.5 second quicker than the Impreza V8. I guess you could say it was impressive. Yeah, I'm sorry. It is actually an entire 3 seconds quicker than the GT40 EcoBoost. Granted, GT40 runs, I'd imagine that engine's heavier, and also is running, well, that did run less power, so, sure, but, you know, even still, the Lola is relatively impressive, so. Anyways, thank you all very much for watching this edition of Silly Car Showdown. Do hope you enjoyed. As always, if you want to request cars for Silly Car Showdown, you can do so either in the comment section at the bottom of this video. That's what it's there for. Also, comment your thoughts on the video if you like, I guess. Or you can join my Discord server, link down below in the description, and put your requests into a request chat. That's the best way to do it. That assures me 100% that your requests will be seen. If you're watching this on HG Central, my links, you might not have heard my voice before, you might not have heard my voice before. I'm not really doing a good job of selling myself, so you know what, sod it, there's a link there. Click it if you want, but if you want someone who can actually speak competent English, maybe don't. Thank you all very much for watching, and until next time, farewell.